Let's go ahead and get started. All right. So, today we're going to be talking about how to build a real estate factory. Replace your 8 to 5 salary without adding a second full time job because at the end of the day, who wants that? Let's get into it. Building a real estate factory to replace your 8 to 5 job. We're going to talk about why a high level career often feels like a comfortable cage. If you've had a high level career, you've made some money in your career. It's great to make the money, of course, but then at the end of the day, a lot of times you feel like you don't have enough time to actually spend the money or take a break and enjoy life. And who wants to make a bunch of money and you can't spend it? So we're going to talk about what that feels like and how to get out of that because I've been there and I know some of you have probably been there as well. We're going to talk about the difference between earning a high salary and owning your time. When I got out of college, I got a job at a bank. I quickly moved up in the bank. I was an auditor and moved into some other stuff with mortgages. And I quickly realized that no matter how much you worked at your job, it is just a job. You are helping make somebody else wealthy. Nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, if you want to own your time, which as you get older becomes very valuable, then you'll want to be there so you can see all of your kids growing up and everything that you want to be involved with them. And we needed a way to do that. And that's how we got into real estate. We talk about moving from being the motor to being the architect of your wealth. Now, when you're the motor, you obviously are doing all the work and everything comes down to you. We're going to talk about being the architect and actually designing the type of life that you want using real estate and why you can do that. Okay. And our goal today is to map out your path to financial strength and more freedom. So this is a path that you can follow. It's very straightforward and it's going to show you how to get to financial freedom using real estate and not having to take on huge amounts of risk and debt and everything else. Okay. So let me know that you all can see my screen and that you're able to follow along. Okay. Just give me a thumbs up or something in the chat and say hello so I can know that everybody can hear me and see everything. I'll end up talking for 45 minutes and nobody ends up hearing anything I'm saying. The other thing is we're going to do this call. It's usually about a 30-minute where I show the slides for about 30 minutes. After that time, I open it up for you to ask questions. You can ask about our process. You can ask about what we do, how we do it, and we'll cover all of that stuff. So if you have any questions, you can ask them in the chat. And if I'm in the middle of talking, then I'll address them. If it's something that needs to wait to the end, I'll just tell you at the end. So we'll get into that. So who are we and what are we doing? 25 years of real world transaction experience. We are not someone who got on the internet and said, let's start a real estate business. We have been doing real estate for over 25 years. My name is Art, and this is my wife, Aisha, in the picture. We've invested together since we got married. We have bought and sold hundreds of houses in every market cycle. We bought property in the 2008 market crash. We bought properties before that. We bought properties after that. And we will continue to buy properties because it is how we generate our income and build our business. We don't just do houses. We invest in large scale commercial. So we do things like mobile home parks, self-storage units, and we also do strip malls. So we do a lot of the small to mid-size commercial, anywhere from maybe 5 million to somewhere around 15, 20 million. That's usually where we'll stop at, and we do it in groups. We have helped everyone from total beginners to seasoned veteran investors. So our process is not about being a beginner or someone who has no idea what real estate is. Even if you are that position, we can help you. But it is more about getting a process so that you can consistently bring in money from real estate and you don't have to bend over backwards with tenants and contractors and everything else. We are practitioners of what we do. We are not gurus. We teach what we actually do every day. Everything that I'm going to talk about in this call and everything I've talked about on any of my calls, we have actually done. I don't talk about stuff that we've never done. If you ask me a question, for example, I don't do Airbnbs. You ask me a question about Airbnbs, I cannot help you because that is not what we do. We have a very specific process that we do. Okay? The dangers of being secure on paper. Let's talk about this because I've seen a lot of people in this position. A lot of people have the title and the high salary of their job, but the problem with that is, and all that seems great and it has great benefits. The problem with that is if you stop working, the money stops and you have no more income. So you're kind of chained to that job where you have the prestige of the title, you have the notoriety of your business and your company name, but you got to be there to do it. And a lot of times you've built a nice life. You have the car, the house, that you're comfortable, but The thing that you're missing is a lot of times is free time and time to enjoy the money that you've made, and you're into your work. And sometimes you can get burnout from that. I know when I was working at the bank, I did get burnout very quickly. Being successful shouldn't mean being exhausted. I don't know about you, but if I have to give up my peace and my mind to be successful, it's got to be a better way. I know with me, I got to a point where I felt mentally and even to the point of physically exhausted from my job. And I wanted to be into something that was different. And this was when I was in my 20s. I haven't worked at a company in over 20 years, but it was an exhausting and a stressful time for me. Now it is time to build a machine that replaces your physical presence. So you don't have to be there all the time. You have to do the work that actually makes you money, and the rest you can either pass off to someone else, or you can focus your time on doing this, but you can do it from home. You can work at the times that make sense for you and then stop if that's something that interests you. Okay. So this is built for professionals, not hustlers. So I'm going to explain this because this is very important and this has come up a couple of times. Who does this work best for? Who benefits from this process? And I'm going to be completely honest with you. For the newbie who wants to start right the first time without going through tenant hell. If you've ever been a landlord, tenant hell is a real place where you're stuck with tenants that don't want to listen to you. You don't have any control to make them do anything, and it can be very frustrating and stressful. For the veteran, if you're somebody who wants to stop the grind and start using a scalable system, I talk to a lot of people that do rehabs. They do fix and flip. And fix and flip will wear you down because you are physically doing the work a lot of times, or you're there going to Home Depot, picking up materials and everything else. It can be incredibly stressful for you to do all of that stuff. And there's a better way to make more money without doing all of that stuff, which we're going to cover on this call. And then this is for people with resources. If you have capital or credit and you need a better engine, you might have some savings, you might have some strong credit, you might even have money in 401ks or money in your retirement account or money in your property equity. This is a different way of doing things and making a reasonable income, very strong income if you decide to go that route, and a way to do it without giving up all of your time. This is not for people looking for a get rich quick scheme or a second full-time job. If you're looking for something where, hey, I can do a house and it'll retire me and that's it. This isn't that. This is an actual business that grows with you that you decide to build out to make it better for you. So it's a real business. It's not a hustle. I try to explain that to people. So you don't need a second job fixing old houses. And this is very true for a lot of people, including myself. Most people think real estate means hammers and nails and messy contractors and fighting with contractors. And it does not have to mean that is one aspect. And that's often the aspect of real estate that everybody talks about, but it is not the only way. Or they look at traditional landlording and it's just a low paying job with high stress levels because you become a caretaker for all of your tenants and all of their problems. And they're telling you how I had a tenant tell me once that she couldn't pay rent this month on time because her daughter had a birthday party and she needed to pay for the birthday party. These are real world things that come up and you don't need that stress. And I didn't need it either. When we started off, we bought a bunch of rental properties. We had 36 rental properties that we had bought in 3 years. And it was a lot, and it was profitable, but it was not as profitable as you would think, and it was very stressful. Fix and flips often become money pits that eat your savings and your weekends. If you've ever done a fix and flip, a lot of times people start off with the best intentions with fix and flip, and they end up realizing that when the inspector comes over and says, because you opened this wall, it's going to be, you got to do more of this, and you're going to have to do this, and it ends up becoming a money pit. And the horrible thing about fix and flip, from my experience, is that the money you have expected to get, the profit, is set in stone when you buy the property. Everything that happens after that is steadily decreasing how much you're going to make on the property, which can be scary. What you need is a business that works while you are at your 8 to 5 or on vacation. So it works if you're on your vacation or on an 8 to 5 job. So it just makes sense. And that's what usually you're looking for, something that you can do while you're doing your other stuff and it's not going to, harm you. Real estate is a math problem, not an art project. So what does that mean? We treat houses like a product on a conveyor belt. This is a key difference of how we do business. The real estate is not the actual business itself, if that makes sense. We treat real estate like a product that we're working on a conveyor belt. Our recipe is consistent. Find equity, fund it fast, and then exit it clean. It is as simple as that. Those three things, well, there's four parts to it, but those are the three main things. And this is the recipe to getting consistent funds from real estate: finding equity, funding it fast, and exiting clean. We focus on boring houses that don't need major surgery to be profitable. So if you're thinking that you're going to find these rundown houses and then turn around and just wholesale them or something like that, that is not what this is. We do not wholesale properties. Most of our properties are move-in condition and clean neighborhoods and nice areas. They just have a lot of equity, and we get some of that equity, if that makes sense. Predictability is the only way to build a legacy that lasts for generations. You have to build a process that consistently brings you deals and consistently makes money to that last. That's the only way to build this. And it takes some time sometimes to get your engine going, but once you get it going, it will literally pay for your life for years to come, as long as you keep feeding it and growing your business. Okay? So the one thing I'm going to talk about now is stop hunting for sellers and start engineering deals, which is a key part of what we do. We don't drive for dollars or hang signs on telephone poles. And I have tried everything that I'm telling you right now is stuff that we have tried. We've done driving for dollars. We've done hanging signs on telephone poles. We don't cold call with owners hanging up in our face. If you've ever had to do cold calling or any of that stuff, we use data through an algorithm to find where the profit is already baked into a deal. So we are only marketing to people that have exactly what we want. And this is very important because you're going to spend money on marketing, but a key part of that is that you are talking to people that have exactly what you want and you're reaching out to them. And so that's what we do in our process. We use an algorithm and it shows us where profit is already baked into a deal. So when the phone rings and we talk to somebody, we know that this is somebody who has exactly what we want. Now, we look for mathematical equity, so we win before we ever buy. What do I mean by mathematical equity? So a lot of investors, when they are starting out, they are taught to look for ARV, after repaired value. That's what it's worth when the house is sold, when you fix it up and everything else, that's what it's going to be worth. We do not look for that. We look for equity today. So in other words, this house as it stands right now, it has equity in it right now. And we don't have to get all of that equity, but we have to negotiate to get some of that equity from the seller. And they're usually fine with us getting some of the equity, provided we give them service and do what we're supposed to do. So that's what I mean by mathematical equity. It's the money that's there now. This system brings the high quality deals to your desk. So people are going to call you. This is not an outbound process. It's an inbound process of people calling you. Okay. How to use leverage without risking everything. Now, this is a key because some people are concerned about how much risk they're taking on when they're getting into these kind of deals. We use specific lenders when we fund our deals who fund up to 100% of the deal based on the equity. These are not hard money lenders. These are actual lenders that have commercial lines of credit. They have different programs. They have a program that does 100% financing, and they will finance your deal provided you get the deal correct when you're buying it. That's where all of this stuff falls into. You have to buy the deal properly and source the right deals. You use your resources. You might use your credit, your capital as a bridge. It is not a permanent sinkhole. And what do I mean by it's not going to be a permanent sinkhole? Your money is not going to stay in this deal. Even if you use it to close the deal initially, if you have to use some money, you're going to be able to get the money back. We actually have a process where we can show you how to recoup your initial investment in 30 to 45 days, usually less than that, in about 2 weeks after you buy the property. So if you follow the financing that we show you, usually you can recoup your investment of the money you put into the property in about 2 weeks to, at the latest, 30 to 45 days to get your money back out. And that's regardless of if you sold the house or not. And this keeps your liquid cash safe while you scale your factory. So you're not just putting so much money out on buying several deals and it's costing you, more than you can afford. We're going to show you how to make it into a system to get that money back out and deploy it again into your next deal. So an important thing to remember, and this is for some people that struggle with the idea of real estate, and that is we want the check, not the keys. Our active clients average 48 days from purchase to profit. So from the day that they purchase a property to the day that they are closing, their average is about 48 days when they purchase a property because of following our process. We sell to retail buyers or other investors who want the pretty house. So if you're thinking, wholesaling and getting a buyer's list and all of that kind of stuff, that is not what we put together. We don't carry a buyer's list. We sell to any and everybody. Why would I ever want to limit who can buy my property? I want everybody in under the sun to be able to buy my property. In fact, at the end of this call, I'm going to show you another tool that we use that we developed that allows us to sell our properties quickly and get market value for it. There are no 6-month renovations with what we do. No city permit nightmares. Most of the time, you will not even see the property physically. You'll see pictures and everything else that you need to see, but not physically see the property. And you can still do it with confidence, know that your money is protected and you're not taking on huge risk. Now, the secret to this is speed. Speed is the one thing everybody ignores in real estate because fix and flip guys are focused on fixing a house and flipping it, and it takes 6 months. They thought it was going to take 3. It ends up taking longer. Speed is the secret to making your money work 10 times harder. When you can churn your money, and not just your money, but also investor money if you need to, when you can churn your money fast, you can make a lot more money. But the problem is a lot of people are focused on the wrong thing. They're focused on how many doors they have or how many tenants or making sure tenants pay top rent. We don't care about any of that. I don't have tenants. I don't keep tenants. I do my best to get rid of tenants when we get a property that has a tenant already in it. There's money in having tenants, but it's not where the big money is at. The big money in single family real estate is buying the property and getting rid of it quickly, so that you can then turn around and do it again on a conveyor belt. Now, once you get to start making money, you will graduate to big game commercial wealth. And what do I mean by big game commercial wealth? Single family quick turn deals build your war chest, immediate income. It builds cash for you when you follow the process. It will build cash for you. Once you build that cash, you are going to have a tax issue if you don't deploy that money into something that is tax deferred. What we do is we move into commercial syndications, which generate permanent wealth. So our short-term strategy is buying single-family houses. Once we get the money from that, we take some of that money and live with what we need to live, and then we take the rest and put it into commercial syndications that allow us to build the wealth in groups. So we have a vested interest in seeing you succeed because we want you to ultimately work with us and invest in commercial real estate with us as a group. This gives you the benefit of deferring taxes. It allows you to build your wealth very quickly, and you don't have to, the biggest thing is you don't have to pay taxes, and you get a cash flow from the commercial, and you got lump sums of cash from the residential, if that makes sense. Okay. We love mobile home parks and self storage. Why do we love these two specifically? These are recession proof legacy assets. Mobile home parks, and let me be clear, not mobile homes. Mobile home parks are an excellent investment that allow you to just own the land and the utilities up to the building. If you set it up correctly, the mobile homes are owned by the owners that live in the property, and they stay there for decades and they don't leave because the house is theirs and they look at it as their house. It's a lot for them to move their house off of your lot and do something else. This is recession-proof investing. Same with self-storage. People put stuff in self-storage for years and they never touch it. And then if they do touch it, it's rare that they move it out. If they don't pay, it's easy to get it out because they don't live there. So it's a great way to make good money and grow your investment past just buying single-family houses. Single-family houses is the first step. This is the path from earned income to generational freedom, because when you get into commercial, we'll show you some stuff about how you can set up so that your family generates money from this, and they can even do it tax-free if you set it up the right way, long-term wealth. So it's a very good setup and a very good system. So mapping the math of your exit. Let's talk about this. If you are in a corporate job, or if you're in nursing, or if you're in something that's long-term and it is stressing you out, let's talk about how many turns does it take to replace your specific 8 to 5 salary doing this? How many times do you have to do a deal to make money that could potentially replace your income? For most people, it's only about 3 to 5 high quality transactions a year. That's to replace an income. Now, I will say this, you will have the ability to do much more than 3 to 5 property transactions in a year, but that's your choice. Our first year, we did 800,000 plus in actual profit that we walked away with on our deals. Now, we did more than 3 to 5 deals, but we were pushing to do as much as we can. Now we average about 2 million a year in deal profits, and we can grow past that if we were really pushing it. We don't grow past that because we're at a nice position, and we, like I said, we take the rest and invest in the commercial real estate. We focus on quality over quantity to protect your time. We don't want to do where we're getting 1,000 phone calls of people that don't really have the right property, people that are just kicking tires. We want to make it so that you don't have to spend all day doing this. That's why we said this is not a second job. Once you set this process up and you put your system in place and start doing your marketing, then your job is just to answer the phone as the phone rings. And we'll show you how to not only get it to ring, but then get it to ring more once you grow the business and you can increase your marketing and things like that. What does your life look like when your machine out earns your job? So what does a typical lifestyle of running a business like this look like? To be honest with you, I spend about 30% of my time in running my real estate business because I have very specific tasks that I have to do in my real estate business. I spend a disproportionate amount of my time helping students build their business and grow out what we do. Because one, like I said, I want them to go into commercial real estate, and at the same time, I enjoy helping people. So this is not something we've done a lot of travel and all of that stuff, and we still do travel. I usually spend a month out of town where we go out of town and stay someplace and go visit friends and things like that. But this business allows me the freedom to do that. So I can be out of town for weeks at a time, and I can still run my business very effectively and make really good money. That's the truth of the matter. So let's map out your factory together. Let's map out what this looks like. If you want to learn more about our process, I invite you to schedule a call with us. On that call, we will look at your current resources, your capital, your credit, your equity, and we'll have a very frank and honest conversation about where you're at, what it would look like, and most importantly, we'll look at a 12-month income goal you want to achieve and what it would look like to achieve that following this quick turn system. You're not going to be fixing up houses. You're not going to be arguing and fighting with tenants. You're going to be doing exactly what you need to. You can do all of it sitting at your desk and literally answer the phone and talk to people on the phone initially. We will help you identify the best 50-mile radius market for you to start in. And what do I mean by the best 50-mile radius market? So in our business, I tell people that they can start doing this in a 50-mile radius in any one market. So you don't have to be all over the country. You don't have to live in Texas and buy property in Atlanta and then buy property in Florida. You can pick one market. It might be where you live. It might not. It depends on where you live. And you can invest just in that market. That way you build your team around that market. That way you focus on that market. You get to know the area, and we'll help you figure out where that best 50-mile radius market for you is to start in. And it might be, like I said, where you live. So this call is a zero-cost blueprint session to see if our system fits your life, if this process fits your life and it makes sense for you. Again, I tell you, in all honesty, it's not for everyone. We've learned as we've done this who our best clients are, who do well with this, and who struggles with it. And so we'll have an honest conversation about you. And it's not for you to just make an investment. It's for you to actually learn and grow from this to get a process that makes sense for you. Okay? And the way I always tell people, we are looking for partners, not just students. And what do I mean by that? We only want to work with people who have the vision to go the distance, who want to go farther in this and build into something long-term with this. If the plan makes sense, we'll show you how to join our QuickTurn mastery group and work with us. We've got a great group in there that grows with us, and we work on deals all the time and put stuff together. If it isn't a fit, you'll at least leave with a professional audit of your numbers. So we'll at least be able to give you some professional advice of what we suggest, where we suggest you start, and what makes sense. Like I said, this isn't for everybody, but we treat your time and our time with the respect it deserves. So if it's not for you, then I'm not going to waste your time. If it is for you, then I'll tell you what the options are, how it looks to work with us, and we'll kind of go through all of that stuff. Okay? So that is my, I do have one more. I tell people to stop being the motor, become the architect. Spots are limited because Aisha and I still handle these calls personally. So you will not be talking to a representative or a salesperson. You'll be talking to me or Aisha directly when we do these calls. Now, we're looking for 3 people to add this month. We just did a rather large group last month that we want to get into this group. In this month, we want to get 3 more professionals at least to begin their onboarding and working with us. And this is a great time of the year because once you get everything set up, you're going to go into the spring and you should be actually marketing and talking to people. And a lot of stuff is going to hit the market in the spring. And if you're interested, I'm going to give you a link. If you want the link, just let me know. Just reach out to me in the chat and say, hey, I'm interested. I'll get you a link and you'll answer a few questions on the link about where you're at, your name and everything, so we can set up the call. And then you can secure your time and it'll give you our calendar. You can set up a time with me or Aisha and talk with us. Okay. The goal at the end of the day, I want to be clear about this, is to get the check and build the legacy. This is for you to actually build a legacy and build a process, a business, not a hustle to do this. Okay. That is what the goal is. Let's engineer your future. I'll be taking questions for anybody in the room that has questions about the process or what we do. If you want more detail, I'll talk about that. Your 12-month goal starts with a single decision. So we kind of get people going and hopefully have them built out in 12 months or less. And book your call before we sign off. So I'm going to give the link. If anybody wants the link, just reach out to me in the chat and I'll send you a DM with the link. And we look forward to seeing you at the closing table. All right. So that is our presentation for right now. Now, one more thing I want to give you guys. How much should we spend on marketing? Santos, how you doing? One of the philosophies I used to tell people, they need to plan on spending anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 a month in marketing. And you need to do that till you get your first deal. That's usually what we've been at. We've recently adjusted the list that we collect and how we do our list. We recently adjusted. So I tell people it's more important to keep your marketing going than it is how much you spend. Some people can spend that amount. Some people can't. I would much rather you spend what you can keep going every month consistently. We also recently added another marketing channel that can make it more affordable for some people, depending on what you're doing. But it all depends on where you're at. Any other questions for me before we get off? I do want to tell you guys about another tool. I'll see if I can show it to you here. We have another tool that we use, and this is called Land Trust X. This is a platform that allows you to sell your property or put your property on this platform, and then you can sell pieces of the property instead of the whole thing. So this is another way that you can dispose or get rid of your properties once you buy them and you're ready to put them on the market. You can become a property partner and you can follow the platform. You add your properties to the platform. You choose your terms, how much of the property you want to sell. You can sell 20%, 30%. You can sell 90% of the property. It's up to you. And then you can sell your part. And when you sell it, you actually get that money in capital and you can keep a part of it for yourself. So if it's a rental and it's going to be rented out once you sell it, you can actually get some of the rental income. In fact, we include a deal structure calculator on the page. And like I said, you can check that out if you're interested. And it shows you where you can put in what the property's worth, what your debt amount is, and it will give you the details of doing it this way versus doing the old way of selling it or pulling out equity. You can see what kind of numbers you're looking at. So it's just another option for you to consider. Any questions from me on this process of buying and selling properties and what that looks like when you're doing QuickTurn and what that process looks like? I mentioned earlier the 4 steps that are involved. The 4 steps are building a marketing funnel, negotiating with sellers and talking to them directly. We don't do realtors. Financing your deals, and then exiting your properties in a quick way, which can be part of this Land Trust X process. Okay. If you came in late for this call and you did not get all of the call, we will be putting out a replay of this in your email tomorrow. You should check your email tomorrow morning. You will have a replay of this call and it'll start from the very beginning. That way you can see everything and you can touch bases from there. But right now you've got the ability to ask questions. So before we end the call, does anyone have any questions for me about the process or what we're doing? I'll just get into it in a second. The other thing I do want to point out is that a lot of people are concerned about financing and how they're going to finance deals. I have a student right now that is financing, or she's buying 7 properties from one seller, and she was concerned about financing, but she put together a deal and she's going to buy these properties and she's only going to have to come out of about $12,000 up front, and she's going to get that money back at closing. A complicated thing, but it's a little bit how the closing is going to work. She's going to come to closing with $12,000, but then she's going to walk out of the closing with probably $12,000 or $13,000. So she'll probably make $1,000 when everything is done. And she's going to walk out with 7 properties that she's going to turn around and QuickTurn and get rid of. So it's a very good process. It works extremely well to get portfolio sellers, because there are a lot of portfolio sellers that are always getting out of the market, and we pick up those deals. So they make a lot of sense. You just have to follow the steps and execute the way it needs to be executed, in a sense that you have to follow the marketing plan and build everything out. And it doesn't take long. You can do that in about 30 days, and then you can be off to the races in a very short time. So, any questions for me that I can answer before I get off the call? Or are you guys okay? Does anyone want the link? I'll put the link in the replay if you guys want the link to set up a call. If not, you can ask me now. I'll get you a link and it'll send you to a questionnaire so you can answer some questions and set up a call. Any questions for me? Okay, no questions. All right. Well, if there are no questions, I'm going to cut it off here. If you did not catch the full thing, you will get the replay tomorrow. You'll be able to see all of this stuff and you'll be able to get access. If you haven't already joined our Facebook group, our free Facebook group, you can join the free Facebook group and you'll be able to get notified every time we have one of these calls coming up. And we'll see you on the next call. All right, guys, I wish you the best. I hope you have a great night, great rest of the week, and I will talk to you guys later. As always, happy hunting. Bye-bye.